Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tennessee Twos Disc Golf Podcast. It is Tennessee Tuesday, and we mean that as literally as possible. If you guys are listening at a later date, make sure you guys are coming in and joining us on our live broadcast because it is literally 2/22/22 on Tuesday. It is literally the epitome of Tennessee Tuesday. So
It
I
is.
don't even know what else to say. This is a very special episode just because of that. Forget about the content. It's Tennessee Tuesday.
It's
All right.
Tennessee Tuesday.
If
This is
you're
our
not here,
holiday.
if you're not here, what are you doing? But seriously, thank you guys so much. Whoever's listening at a later date on our post production. But seriously, feel free to come and join us here on Facebook live every Tuesday night, anywhere between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern time. And come comment, ask questions. We love to interact with you guys. It is an awesome time. I can't even explain how fun it is to have you guys join us during the podcast. I'm going to go into a little bit of a roll call real quick. Um, we got a lot going on, but most of it's going to be really just previewing what's going on this weekend because in exactly 1 day and 17 hours as of right this second, FPO goes live on DGN for LVC. Super exciting. So, a couple of topics we are going to cover are some stuff that happened with DGN this week, a couple of things that happened with the DGPT this week, the Casta Latitude partnership, and then
Mm-hmm.
we're going to go into our LVC previews, including previewing just the course. Um, we had a couple of questions. We posted some questions out there on Twitter and Facebook. Got some stuff back, mostly relating to LVC and stuff like that. So we're going to kind of tie that all in. We're going to go over our dark horse podium finish picks. And then we are also going to go over a preview for the Tennessee Twos Dubs Championship at the Tennessee State Championship.
That's right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Are you ready? All right.
Oh,
First thing we got to do.
first thing. That's Daniel Bacon. I'm Ethan Jenkins. we didn't. We didn't go through that. We was too excited about the national holiday of Tennessee
It's
Tuesday.
Tennessee Tuesday. Come on,
I
forget
mean, yeah,
who cares what our names are. It's
right.
Tennessee Tuesday, and
As
there's two
long
of
as
us
they know
here.
Tennessee twos.
Yeah, that's all that really matters. Yeah, my name's Daniel Bacon. Across from me is Ethan Jenkins. Yeah, first thing we're going to go over real quick is just a small retraction from something we had mentioned last week.
Yeah.
We're not sure if this is something that they had taken down because they either mistyped what they were trying to say or if something went wrong or sour in the deal. But we had talked about how DGN had possibly signed on to cover the Pro Tour in Europe. And as far as any information we can find now, that is not true. It's still going to be covered by a live company that is in Europe, based in Europe. However, DGN will be covering the European Open
Correct.
100% of the way, as well as USDGC. So that's going to transition us right into our next topic, real quick. That the Disc Golf Network is going to be covering both of those events live without any pay per view prices. However,
Yes.
they did increase their price. Now, it's not substantial, it's only
A
$2 a month,
$2 difference.
basically. And if you have an active PDGA membership, then you get that 50% off per month. So $5.99, not bad really to get live disc golf all year round. You know, people have been a little upset about it, kind of complaining, oh, we have to pay more every month for that. But at the same time, you can look at it this way. They've already announced that USDGC will not be pay per view. Plus, they've added the European Open, and it will also not be pay per view. And if you considered that last year USDGC was $20 as a pay per view, it
Yeah.
actually pays for itself in the membership. Plus, we get the European Open now for free.
Correct.
So paying a little bit more doesn't bother me that much. I'm sure it's really expensive to send that size of a team out to Europe and to cover that. So,
Absolutely.
what are your thoughts?
I don't mind it. I seen it coming. Um, in order to grow, um, to get better equipment, get better product, it costs more. And I feel like they have adjusted the prices fairly. It's not like they're saying, "Hey, it's 1999. We need you to spend $20 for a year." Which it may get to
Right.
that 10 years, 5, 10 years down the road, and that's fine. But in
Right.
order to see the growth and to get live disc golf better and to get more little quick hitter shows, that are on the network, I think this is something that had to happen. I know a lot of people are
Right.
probably gonna not be happy about it, but um, you know,
Right.
isn't is it just? I could be wrong here. But is Las Vegas free? Is the first one
Um,
free as a trial? Like one of the
yes. So
rounds?
one of the things that Disc Golf Network did do is they are including not every tournament, but a couple of select tournaments throughout the year and a couple of final rounds of specific tournaments throughout the year as well for free to active PDGA members specifically.
Okay.
So any of you who would be eligible for the 50% off discount will also get a couple of tournaments for free. So that was a really cool thing that they did this
I
year.
I, I really
Um,
like that. You get a sample size of what you would be getting in a live broadcast.
exactly.
And I think that live broadcasts are going to be like exponentially better from what we've seen at the All Star event.
Yep.
I really have high hopes.
Well,
Um,
except for some of the camera work, man. I'll tell you what.
so the guy on the distance, I know this is the one you're talking about. The guy or girl that was behind the camera, trying to film the distance shots, was lost.
No,
Absolutely.
actually, I mean,
Lord.
yeah, that guy was lost, yeah, but in the doubles and the singles, respectively, specifically on the MPO side, I don't know if it was just they weren't setting up in the right locations, if they needed to be set up deeper. My partner's about to die over here. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. But no, specifically on the
I
MPO
muted my
side,
mic, so we're good.
I, I don't know if we're
Whew.
if we're gonna be if they just weren't set up in the right location or what. But I can't tell you how many shots I remember going from the behind the tee camera to the catch cam, and the catch cam didn't see anything. They were just shaking all over the place, and then finally they'd zoom in where the disc landed, and that was all we saw. We didn't
Right.
actually see anything. So I think it was really just like some random mistakes more than anything. I was just complaining about it to complain because that's what I do.
Yep. I mean,
But
honestly
no,
though, it
I
could
think you're
be like to where maybe they had hired a bunch more camera people and this was their first kind of take at learning how to follow a disc and stuff. And so the first couple of episodes of live disc golf could be a little shaky, especially if they have to do chase card or third card check-ins. Um,
yeah, because they're
but
gonna put the newest cameramen are gonna be on the chase card or maybe on like the when you see. I'm hoping that given everything that they're talking about, we see a little bit more golf style coverage, kind of what we see at USDGC, where we get like the hole 8 and the hole 17 all day long, and then
right,
you have your chase card and your primary card coverage. So there'll
right,
be a lot of opportunity for any of those newcomers to really catch their stride, if you will.
yeah,
This is
they'll find a place
not
that
too
they
worried
fit
about
in
it.
for sure.
But yeah, I agree. When if you're trying to expand what you're capable of doing, it's going to cost money, and when
Hmm.
it costs money, you have to recoup the money somehow. So I'm not too worried about it. It's not that big of a deal, and I feel less bad paying as an active member of PDGA paying $6 to do
Hmm.
that as opposed to getting all the way through the season and then having one tournament at the end of the year. They're like, "Yep, cough up your $20 if you want to
Right,
watch." I I feel so much better this way than I do that way. I just
I
if they
agree.
had raised the price and then kept USDGC as a pay-per-view only, I probably would have been pretty upset. But
Right.
getting that and then adding the European Championship,
I
whatever.
think they done
I
it the
don't think
right
it's that big
way.
of a deal. Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly. Now, speaking of, that transitions us into our next topic, real quick. The Disc Golf Pro Tour announcing today their post production plan for 2022. I have their actual post pulled up here. I'm just going to read through it a little bit real quick. Um, the Disc Golf Pro Tour is pleased to announce that its post-production media plans for the 2022 season are going to have Jomez Pro signed to a 2-year contract to gain all of the post-production rights to MPO lead cards for 22 and 23 seasons. GK Pro has agreed to a 1-year deal, and that's going to cover the FPO lead cards at all those events. Gatekeeper will be producing MPO chase cards for 2022 and 23. And additionally, GK Pro and Central Coast Disc Golf will be providing some post production coverage for Silver Series events. However, that will be staying on the Disc Golf Pro Tour's YouTube channel, not going to their own channels. So just be warned that GK Pro and Central Coast Disc Golf are helping with that, but it will not be on their channels. It will be on the Pro Tour's channel. Of course, the biggest news of all of this is that Jomez Pro paid $500,000 for this 2-year contract.
Right.
Um, I did the announcement. Go ahead and give me your thoughts first, and I'll chime in.
So, I know it had been mentioned before, you know, that it couldn't go forever, um, with them just showing up and filming and making money off of the players.
Right.
Um, I think this deal had to happen. I am surprised at the amount of money. I'm gonna be honest. I did not expect it to be that much. Um, I was more along the lines of like 50,000 for a year, um, rather than 250,000 a year. That's
Per year.
that's wild, to be honest. Now we know that Jomez has a great channel. They're like at 360,000 followers or subscribers, right? And
Yeah, something along those lines. It might even be more now
they,
just
I'm
because of
sure
the
that they
explosion
make
this last year.
right, true. I'm sure that they make fairly well off of their lead card coverage.
Right.
Um, I would say that in order to keep their brand going, this is something that they had to do. Um, they've branched out and done the putting games and the practice rounds and stuff like that. So they've got other content coming in as well. But in the season, those MPO lead cards is always got those views, you know,
Right.
and
Let's be
I
honest. I
think
mean,
it's
the only
good.
time the only time a chase card is going to outview a lead card is when somebody goes into that post production video knowing the chase card player wins.
Right.
Right. So that's the only time the chase card's ever going to outview a lead card. And even then, just because Jomez is preferred by so many viewers for actual card coverage, it might not even still hit those types of numbers. But for me, I think it shocked me the amount of money as it were that it
Mm-hmm.
ended up being, but at the same time, I really liked how good of a sign that was because it means that Jomez had the capital to go and do
Right.
that. It means they are doing well enough to agree to a contract like that, and that's great for the sport. That means that we are growing in so many different ways. And let's be honest, a lot of people really love live coverage, so you're going to get a lot of people who are going to drift towards DGN,
Right.
but a lot of people prefer the speed and the pacing of post production coverage more. I'm personally in between. I love both of them for what you get. The nice thing about live for me is getting to see everybody who's not on the lead cards and what they're doing. And you kind of get to see those chases as they're happening a little bit more quickly than just hearing, oh, so and so hit a 15 down today. They're going to be on the lead card tomorrow. No, you kind of get to see if somebody's going 15 down on one of those rounds, they're going to have quite a bit of
Of
coverage, just
camera
even if
time.
it's just
Right.
exactly. Even though they could be 10 cards down from the lead card, they're going to get a camera down there for that, especially later on in the rounds. It's a different feel, but it's also much slower. There's a lot of waiting, there's a lot more listening, and a lot of people really like the way that post production is always go, go, go. It's your
Yep.
shot, move on to the next shot, move on to the next shot. In an hour, you've seen an entire round
Yeah.
because it takes 4 hours at the minimum for most of your MPO cards
Yep.
on DGN to get through. So,
That's a lot of filler
different
time.
reasons, different reasons to love both of them. but it's a great sign at the growth of what we're seeing, and I really love, I love that.
I do too. I'm for it for sure.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and push forward a little bit farther. One of the other things that the Pro Tour announced this week was revisions to the rules of how to win their awards at the end of the Pro Tour season. I'm going to go ahead and kind of go through each one of them real quick. Let's see. Um, Basically, last year was weighted a lot in terms of just your winning, and then there was a fan vote, a media vote, and your overall points placement at the end of the year. This year, they've kind of dialed it back a little bit. Player of the year, your criteria is now going to be 33% media vote, 33% tour points, and 33% average finish at Pro Tour plus majors.
Right.
So they've expanded, and
To the
that
majors as
that
well.
yeah, that to me makes it sound like PDGA, excuse me, is stepping back from their award system this year, which is fine because so many of the events outside of the majors have stepped into the pro tour since we no longer have a national tour. It would be really weird to run an award system for just those four events throughout the season as opposed to what they used to do with a national tour and the majors.
Right.
So I'm thinking, I don't think I've seen an official announcement. If anybody has, feel free to let us know. I haven't seen an official announcement that PDGA is not running awards this season, but I would assume this is the move.
Yeah, and even if they did run awards, they could do it in a different criteria.
Hmm.
Something like we had done. Just
Right.
picked different styles. That way, they're not
Yeah.
Venn diagramming. You know,
Yeah.
covering both.
Exactly. So um, rookie of the year, the new criteria is going to be given to the player with the highest points total who has not played in more than three combined Elite Series events. And it is now also going to include three combined Elite Series events, National Tour events, major events in a single season. So basically, this completely eliminates everything that happened last year
Right.
by simply basically just saying it's just exactly how we talked about. When you play at the highest level of the game, it doesn't matter where it was, whether it was labeled Pro Tour, National Tour, or a major, it's the highest level of the game. We're not talking Silver Series, we're not talking A tiers, we're talking majors, National Tour,
Right.
Pro Tour. And so all they did was they basically said, all right, this year we're just going to combine all of them into one lump sum. And this is going to eliminate any person who's coming back who hasn't played during the Pro Tour era and make sure that we're still giving Rookie of the Year to actual newcomers, if
Right.
you will. So I think that's really beautiful. We
It's
felt really
something that
bad for
had to
anybody who
happen.
got
Yeah.
exactly. We felt really bad for everybody who got snubbed
Yeah.
last year on the FPO side because of what happened, and they have immediately fixed that. Huge kudos to you for that.
Still feel like they should have
Most,
honorable mentioned, but
yeah,
it's something that
I,
they owned up to and they fixed. So mad respect.
yeah, yeah, and it didn't take them 2 or 3 seasons to recognize the
Exactly.
mistake. They did it right away.
That is
So
one
that
thing
was
that
that was
I have
great.
noticed about the Pro Tour. Um, they are not afraid to try things, and they will try things. And if it does work, great. If it doesn't work, they change it. You know,
Right.
it's like stop the bleeding immediately rather than try to band aid it. And
Exactly.
I really appreciate that from them. I think that's the right way to grow,
Yep.
and the way to gain a lot of respect throughout the whole community and stuff. So
Absolutely.
kudos to them.
Yeah. Great job. Most improved this year. Interesting. It's going to be 50% fan vote, 50% media vote. Tiebreaker goes to points total if there is one. Um, no problem with that. Most improved is more of a feeling
Yeah,
award than it is like a direct stat award. So, and then they give the tiebreaker to the stats. That feels fine to
right.
me. I don't really have any complaints about that. Um, the All Stars this next year. First of all, I forgot to complain about this last week, so I'm gonna take a little bit of a divergence here and complain. What did anybody hear what the explanation for the wild cards were and how they got there and how they were chosen? Did anybody?
I don't. I think that was just a thing that everybody just accepted.
What were they doing there? Like,
I don't
I don't have
know.
a problem I don't have a problem with them being there, but there was zero explanation. It was just like 2 days before the events. Here's your wild cards.
Right.
Great. Why are they here? And
I
how did
still
they
don't
earn the
know.
wild card slot? I don't get it.
I
I don't I don't know. So
I don't
anyways,
know either.
that's my rant for the day because I forgot to rant about it last week.
There you go.
I
Get
digress.
that
I
out of
digress.
there.
So the first card for the All Stars is going to be pretty much the same. It's going to be the point standing is going to fill up your first card. Your second and third cards, which is going to total 8 total players, is going to have a 25% fan vote, 25% media vote, 25% tour points, 25% average finish
Hmm.
at Pro Tour and majors. So, yeah, I don't know if they what they did in terms of fan vote last year. I would have to double check if that had anything to do with like the player of the year fan vote, if they included that at all.
I would assume
But
so.
I love the fan vote idea, and I like that they're going to tag that fan vote directly to All Stars as opposed to maybe using something from another award if that's what they did.
So,
Um,
what is the media vote exactly? Like,
so media vote will basically just be like any other sport. Um, you basically have your, in most sports, it's the Associated Press. I don't know who exactly their media vote outlets are going to be,
right? That's what I'm
but
wondering.
we'll put it this way: if we were to exponentially grow throughout this entire year,
Right.
in 2023, we could, in theory, win a media vote
Okay. So
slot.
that's what I was wondering is if it ends up coming to that sort of media rather than what I had heard somebody else say, and I didn't agree with this. I disagreed, which is rare for me. But um,
Right?
they were saying that it would be social media, and I'm like, but then where does fan vote come from? Because fan vote,
Yeah.
the only outlet to get a large enough number is in social media, and I mean, it's not like they're going to be mailing
No.
out a letter and saying, "Hey, who you got?"
Yeah.
It's not the way it
Yeah. No.
works.
Yeah, media vote is always directly related to some form of legitimate press.
Right.
You earn it in some ways and shape and forms. Like I said, most sports, the big sports, it's Associated Press,
Hmm.
and you have to earn your way onto the roster for media vote. It's not something you're
Right.
just given because you're a writer for the Associated Press. You earn it over time. Um, and I'm sure they have some sort of a selection committee that chooses, who's on the media vote. They probably have a cap on how many members can be on the media vote team, so on and
Which
so
the
forth.
media vote could actually be like substantial, because if there's only 100 that gets that
Yeah,
media vote, the media right,
right.
it's still a 25% or
Yes.
50%. Um,
Yeah.
that could
But
play
but
dividends.
the one thing you have to remember about media votes versus like the fan votes you can vote however you want as a fan.
Hmm.
Generally in media vote formats, the media who are selected on this have a set of rules that they are supposed to abide by during the voting process.
Right.
So obviously we don't know what that is, but
Hmm.
they can't just vote willy nilly. They can't just go and say, I really liked Nathan Queen this year. He didn't finish in the top 10 in a single event this year, but I really like him.
Yeah. Right.
They have a set of
They
rules
have
that
to go through
basically
an
say
unbiased opinion. Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
So media vote has a little bit tougher than fan vote. You can kind of do whatever you want as a fan. Medias have rules, so on and
Right.
so forth. Obviously, I'm sure that the media vote is going to be pulled from a lot more sources than other sports because we don't have the Associated Press coverage to create a media vote specifically by the Associated Press.
Right.
But it's the same concept. That's how they're going to build the media vote
We'll get there.
usually.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
All right.
Um yeah. So I think that's pretty much it.
On the news side,
Before we get there, let me just read this last part here. Okay.
da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Nothing else that we haven't already covered.
Yeah,
There was just a little footnote on that page. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
got you.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Um,
last bit of news,
is
and
the
I'll
one
let
I'm
you talk
excited
most about.
about.
Yeah, I'll let you talk most about this one because well, it's your thing.
Yeah.
You throw a
So
lot more casta than I do.
yeah. Well, when I very first started out, um, I had a few throwers of Innova, and I didn't really know what I was doing. As soon as I figured out that I liked a certain brand, I automatically went to Latitude 64. Um, I loved the way that the plastic felt. I loved the way that the discs flew. Um, and there was a lot of overstable options for my slow arm that I do big anhyzers on. So,
Right.
um, anyways, I'm super excited that now my favorite disc is going with one of my favorite companies, So Castaplast, which is a smaller company that is made in Sweden, or they are located in Sweden. They are now um, co-owned um, by Latitude 64. Um, Latitude 64 is going to help with the expansion and the um, delivery rates and like quantity upkeep um, as far as distribution goes. Um, Latitude 64 probably pushes out more plastic than anyone else in the sport.
Yeah,
Um,
they run a lot of plastic for a lot of companies that you don't think about.
yes,
Discmania, just to name one.
yeah, and they go. It's a lot. They do a lot, but I think this is a huge move for Castaplast in the right direction. Castaplast hopefully keeps their integrity of plastics because that is kind of what sets them apart. Their plastics are really sought after. People love them. It's just harder to get their discs. Um,
Right.
so with this move, um, hopefully we'll start seeing some more Castaplast in players' hands.
Yep.
I know, like on the Pro Tour, you don't see Castaplast a whole lot. Luke Sampson is probably the most relevant Castaplast player. Um,
Well, and Stokely this year as well.
Stokely is, but he's kind of like the opposite of a mixed bag, but yet he still has a mixed bag. He's mixed
Right.
sponsor. Um,
Right.
so
But
he has certain discs through certain brands. So like he has a Berg. He had with um Castaplast. He has the Stall with Castaplast. He has the Harp with Westside. Um,
right, but the point
right,
here just being that when you think of Castoplast, he is one of the first names that comes to your mind. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm super excited. Like I said, my favorite disc is made by Castaplast, and it is very hard to find. So I'm hoping that this helps. Um, yeah, I don't think there could be a really way to see it in a bad move. But I'll let you get on in on that side.
Yeah. So I mean I'm gonna go into the first, and here's the thing: as I have some quote unquote bad thoughts, but they're not bad thoughts. They're really just if thoughts,
Right.
right? So they're not something that is happening currently under the new regime that we're gonna call it. It's just stuff that could happen, and I hope it doesn't happen. But first, let's start with the good stuff. One of the things that was really exciting is that Latitude announced that they are actually gifting one of the current prototype molds that they have, and they're giving it directly to Castoplast. So it's going to be released under Castoplast as opposed to Latitude.
Mm-hmm.
Super exciting because we know that Castoplast is not the quickest at innovating molds right now, and it's an immediate disc that they're going to be able to add to their lineup essentially.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that it's really going to help them along as well is it's going to give them the opportunity to probably test out more plastics with a little less like worry of cost, if you will.
Right.
It's not going to hurt them as much to say, well, maybe let's try this plastic blend, right?
Right.
That's a huge thing. It'll give them free access to if they want to slightly modify Opto and run that, because that's the number one hardest plastic for you to find over here is that glow champion style plastic that Castoplast does have.
Yeah.
It's
The
it's
Glow K1. It's
It is so hard to find in the US, it's outrageous. I mean, that was the first thing that I saw a bunch of people comment on is that, does
hmm
that mean we're finally gonna actually see stock of, this
right,
plastic? But it's also gonna give them the opportunity to maybe test something out, and maybe they end up finding a plastic they prefer more than the K1, and you might see some new series of plastic. Maybe we even start seeing an L line plastic, and that's something that they designed with Latitude, and so they
right.
title it L or something along those lines.
And it's
The
very
only
potential. Oh, sorry. It's
Go ahead.
uh, very possible that they could, collaborate, like you're saying, and put like a tournament blend with a K1 soft blend,
Yep.
and put that together, and it could be the greatest thing ever. I love
Yeah.
those are my two favorite plastics, so that would be dream world for me.
Yeah. And
So
that's something that we could absolutely start seeing as well is that a little more financial freedom there to design and blend some new
hmm
plastics. We might start seeing a few more sponsorships on the Castaplast side, and that would mean that we're going to see more Tour Series discs. And generally, as we know from almost all companies out there that are doing it, Tour Series discs are generally exclusive blends of plastic. You
yep.
can't get them outside of their Tour Series releases. Now, generally, they're not that much different from a lot of the standard runs, but it is still technically unique, and a lot of them do have different flight patterns because of the blends.
hmm
So that would be super exciting. The only thing that, and this, again, this is not like this is going to happen or this is something they're talking about doing, but one of the things that I don't want to see happening is Castaplast does have a couple of plastics in their lineup that are severely unique to their
hmm
company. There's no other companies doing that. And so the only thing that I hope we don't see out of this partnership is Latitude coming in and starting to take away some of those more unique plastic blends and replacing them with something else. So that's the
Yeah.
only thing for me.
That would be
K
tragic.
K2 is very similar to gold, but it doesn't feel like I don't really like gold plastic,
Right.
but I really like K2. There's just a different feel to it. It's almost like having a premium plastic with the tackiness of a rubber putter.
Yeah.
You know
It
what I mean?
is.
And it's so unique. And I just hope we don't see that sort of, those sort of plastics that have been a staple for them for so long get phased out.
Mhm.
So that's my number one worry. But I see nothing but good coming out of this partnership.
Yep, I completely agree.
So,
Definitely.
all right. I mean, I think that wraps up all of our hardcore news.
Yeah,
Would you
I
say?
think so too. Yeah, I think we knocked that out pretty well.
All right. Well, let's head into our Las Vegas Challenge previews then.
hmm
Um, First thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with the course and the region preview. Um, Obviously, if you guys have never seen it, we'll kind of give you an idea. One of the things that Las Vegas Challenge does, and we'll see a lot more on the Western Coast swing of the Pro Tour, is converting golf courses as a multi use park for disc golf during these tournaments and events.
Right.
So one of the things that you're going to see is a lot of OB. You're going to see a lot of big sky shots. Some of these courses, as long as they've got the fairways to work with, not as common at LVC because they kind of go across a lot of the fairways as opposed to down them. But you'll see a lot of stuff like rollers and stuff. Really exciting to watch rollers over air shots because you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I just got to say. And then the other thing that you're going to see out of Las Vegas is going to be those desert conditions. It's going to be really dry. It's not a super high elevation, but there is some elevation at play. And then there's going to be a lot of wind. Um, it's very windy, similar to how Kansas is windy when we think of, the Kansas swing, but it's a different kind of wind. Kansas are very heavy, steady winds, whereas desert winds tend to be
Just
more
gusty.
sheer.
Oh,
Yes, so
yeah.
you get a lot of heavy stand-up winds, but you
hmm
get a lot more gust and a lot of wind shear. So you're going to find winds in different spots at different times. Um,
right.
and it can play extremely difficult. Um, I had opened up our Twitter to questions and also on Facebook, and one of our viewers, Jesse, had asked how we could talk about how wind plays,
Right.
and I think Vegas is a great way to preview that because Vegas plays a lot of OBs, especially behind and around the baskets,
Yep.
um, and a lot of fairly tight landing zones on some of the longer, par fours as well in terms of the fairways. And wind has a massive effect on how you read your throws. Specifically, one of the things you might talk about are thermals, is something that, a lot of younger players wouldn't think about. But thermals are basically that part of the wind that's going to dictate whether your disc is going to rise or whether it's going to fall
Right.
when it's flight, right? So one of the things that you'll see out of a lot of these top players is that they've learned how to actually read thermals. And I won't go into how to do that because I'm not good at it to begin with. I know some of the techniques you can use to read the thermals in the air, but I'm not good at it. So I don't really have a way to tell you how to do it the right way. But you can find that type of information um, online.
Right.
But
But
going
the things that we can go over is how the discs get affected um, when you throw them on certain angles, nose up, nose down, hyzer, anhyzer, and the different speeds of the discs and what they will do.
right,
Um, if you, yeah, we should probably get into that at some point. Not this episode, of course, but maybe if um, we do a little more research on the thermals,
yeah,
or get somebody in here to talk about it because I would actually really like to know myself. Um,
yep,
but as far as like, I'm gonna rattle off some stuff and kind of like a Q&A style, if that's all right.
sure.
Um, so if I'm gonna be throwing a just a regular flat shot for these wind styles, all right, a headwind is going to.
Headwind's going to speed up your disc. The best way to imagine it is that if you're throwing it into a direct headwind and you throw it at 55 miles an hour and you have a direct headwind of 10 miles an hour, your disc is going to act like you threw it 65 miles an hour. That is the best way to explain that.
Yep, which means that you want to have a more overstable disc, one with less turn, because say you have um, a Zeus, for instance, or a Destroyer, something with
Yep,
like a -1 3, -1 fade, or -1 turn and 3 fade.
yep,
If you're throwing into a headwind and you, like he said, it would be 65 miles per hour if you're throwing 55 miles per hour in a 10-mile-per-hour headwind. It would speed the disc up and get it to turn more. So every time you think about throwing into a headwind, it's like, oh, it flipped my disc. That's why, because it
right,
sped your disc up. It didn't actually grab your disc and push it over in
right,
in a headwind situation. Um,
right,
so the main thing is make sure you have that trusty stability in a headwind,
right.
or you have something that you can trust on a lot of hyzer and hope it doesn't flip.
And even still, again, so this will come down to reading thermals. If you misread a
Mm-hmm.
thermal and you throw something that is more like a Zeus, where the harder you throw it, the more it has a chance to stand up. If
Mm-hmm.
you throw that on extreme hyzer and you throw it low, but you get an uptick in your thermal draft, if you will, so it's going to raise your disc,
Yep.
that means that it's going to be that much more likely to flip up, right?
Yes.
It's going to catch more height and more speed. If it gets too high, eventually it's going to hit that stall phase and it'll hit it early. But those thermals are going to send your disc up and down, and that can affect how quickly it turns over as well, which is why you start seeing a lot of players in those headwinds. Instead of throwing something that could flip up in the wrong situation, they're going to go much more overstable. You're going to see a lot more
Yeah.
bosses. You're going to see a
Forces.
forces.
Yep.
For the shorter ones, you might start seeing more like
Firebirds.
raptors,
Raptors.
felons,
Yep.
firebirds.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yep. And I don't. I do not know the answer to this. Um, but in the thermals, if it is, I know they have different density. But
Right.
between hot air and cold air, um,
Right.
which one is more and which one is less? Is cold air more dense?
Cold air is more dense, so
That's what
cold
I
air goes
thought.
down,
Okay.
hot air moves up.
Okay. Yep. I just wanted to clear that up. That's what I thought, but I didn't want to be wrong. Um,
Yep. No,
so yeah, and then the opposite effect would go for tailwinds. Um, if we're throwing flat into a tailwind, the exact opposite of what we said to the headwind will happen.
Yep.
So,
So if you throw it at 45 miles an hour in a tailwind of 10 miles an hour, the disc is going to act as if you threw it at 35 miles an hour, which means every time you throw a disc that has a specific stability at a specific speed, you get that tailwind and it automatically is going to become more overstable.
right, exactly. And tailwinds are fun. Tailwinds can
Yep.
be fun, if you read it right. If you read a tailwind, tailwind is definitely the best to throw in. Um,
Right.
you can
Debatable, but yes.
debatable, but yes, yeah,
Yeah, some of your
you're right.
best distances you can get out of a headwind if you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
Some of the max distance players like playing in a headwind because it's the only time you can get a force or something of that nature to stand up and ride
hmm
straight because it wants to flip over because of that headwind, but it won't because it's
yeah.
still too overstable. But
It's got so much fight in it, and the wind has got just as much. So it's a
right,
constant battle, but it's still driving forward. Um,
yeah,
but as far as like an amateur player, a tailwind is much
it's
easier
gonna
than a headwind.
add stability.
Yeah.
One of the things that we also missed as well is probably how the speed of your disc is going to affect you, and the glide of your disc is going to affect you in those winds as well. High speed discs are always going to be preferred, and when we say high speed, we're going to refer specifically to wide rimmed drivers.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be a 13 speed, it could be a 9 speed, but it's that aerodynamic of the long, flat rim that is going to help you cut through the air.
Yep.
um, Mid ranges tend to not fight headwinds really well simply because of the fact that they're very blunt nosed. And
Mm-hmm.
same thing with putters. So throwing putters are not always easy to throw in the headwind unless you really have it locked down and practiced. And the same is true on the backward side, where when you have a tailwind, that is where mid ranges and putters are really going to shine because they have more glide because of the width of their the track, the dome
Yeah.
is going to give it extra glide because of the tailwind. They don't have to fight anything. The glide's going to take over more so than the speed will. So
Yep.
that's another thing to consider.
And just quick hits on since we went over headwind and tailwind, crosswinds, left to right, um, for a right hand backhand thrower, a right to left wind. If you put on hyzer, anything that you expose the flight plate to, the wind will try to take advantage of.
Mhm.
That's just the way it is. If you throw it on hyzer, it will become a spike hyzer pretty fast. If you throw it on anhyzer, it generally likes to push it to the ground. Um, it can, with the right stability, fight out. Um, you always want to go into the wind on your angle, if possible.
Right. Um, yeah. So side winds are especially tricky as well because there's a lot of different factors, and the stability of your discs are a lot more important even in crosswinds
Mm-hmm.
than they are in head or tailwinds. Head or tailwinds are really straight up, straightforward,
Right.
overstable discs in the headwinds, understable discs in the tailwinds. But
Yeah.
when you're fighting a crosswind, say for example, like he was saying, if you have a right to left and you expose that plate, depending on the type of crosswind you get and the thermals, you might get it to where it just dumps immediately to the ground, but there's also the chance that the flight plate is going to catch too much air and it's going to shoot way up into the air.
Yeah. Huge lifts.
And if you get those big lifts because you expose too much flight plate, then you're ending up 200 feet too far to the left as opposed to 20 or 30 feet too far to the left.
Right.
Um, Now, if you're throwing discs out at flat, basically, you're either going to get a lot more action from a right to left as a backhander. So it's going to push farther to the left, if you will, if it comes out flat.
Yep.
If you have a left to right crosswind, it's going to hold your disc straight much, much longer. So if you throw something that you normally throw 20 feet to the right of your target, if you will, if it's the basket, um, in a left to right wind, you might throw directly at the basket because it's going to hold you straight all the way there,
Right.
as opposed to that normal dump to the left that you would get.
Yes. And generally, a lot of times in a left to right wind, left to right crosswind, that's those shots that you'll notice to be like, dang, I really threw this one, you know,
Yep.
because it likes to hold your glide out. Um, and it all depends on the stability of your disc fighting. So
Yep.
yeah, hopefully, um, the little wind talk helped some people. Um, the more you know can be helpful. It can also be hurtful. Um,
Yep.
I've seen it to where times, especially in swirly wind situations, sometimes
Yes.
just it's just better to just throw. Um,
Yeah. The general rule of thumb is if you have swirling winds, whether you think you have a tailwind or you think you have a headwind, the goal is just to do what's most predictable, and that will always be an overstable disc.
yep,
So if you think you have a tailwind, but it looks like it might be swirly down the fairway or up by the basket, just throw the overstable disc. If you end up having a tailwind, the worst that happens is it dumps out early. But
exactly.
that's the rule.
Yeah,
Especially in those swirly winds.
I agree completely.
All right, that's gonna cover that particular topic. Let's go over to our prime picks to win on both MPO and FPO.
All right.
And this is not dark horse. This is just who do you think's gonna win the tournament?
Okay. Calvin Heimberg is my pick. Um, I know it's gonna seem like recency bias because of the All Star event, but I truly do feel like Calvin is going to take that step this year. I feel it.
Yep.
He's getting the social media game going. He wouldn't be doing that if he wasn't going for a big contract. You know what I mean? Like he's seen
Hmm.
it. He's on a 1 year deal. He is going big. I think he's going to do it, and I predict him coming away with the wind here. The hat wind.
Hmm. It was windy today out there, just in case anybody didn't know.
Yeah, yeah.
They
And
were 25-mile-an-hour winds, 50-mile-an-hour gusts out of Vegas.
also, but they said that by the time the tournament rolls in, that it's going to be less than 10 miles per hour. So that's a little.
I'm gonna put this out there. In being somebody who's from Nevada originally, you can never trust any weather report that's more than 24 hours out, especially when it comes to wind specifically. You know,
Tennessee's the same way.
yeah, wind. You could have a day where they're like, yeah, it's 5-mile-an-hour winds max today, and you get out there, 25-mile-an-hour crosswinds. Oh, it's a great time.
Yeah, great
I'll
time.
tell you, I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
Uh,
so um, that's my MPO. Do you want me to go ahead and say my FPO too?
yep,
Um,
yep. Go ahead.
so my FPO is I'm going with Kristen. Um, I know
All
it's
right.
um kind of a surprise, I would think, to some. Um, a lot of people are probably gonna say Evelina or Paige, but I really think that Kristen's got it, and that's who I'm picking for FPO. So Calvin and
All right.
Kristen.
All right. Um, so I'm kind of on a little bit of a split pick here with MPO side,
Can
and
only be one.
I want to preface it specifically that if Eagle is healthier than he let on at All Stars, meaning he actually is 100% and ready to go um for LVC, he will win. However, I don't think he is.
Right,
I think that the whatever was holding him up at All Stars, he either doesn't have the confidence in his forehand, which can be just as detrimental as actually still being physically in pain.
right,
So, with all that being said, if he's 100% healthy and everything that we've seen so far has been a sham, he's going to win. If not, and I'm leaning towards he's not, Calvin's going to win. One of the things I think people forget about Calvin is he's won Las Vegas before.
yes,
So obviously, the course changes from year to year, especially these temporary style courses. But he's been out there. He's shown that he can win this tournament before. He has all the tools. one of the great things about his throw out in Las Vegas, especially if they do start experiencing some heavy winds this weekend, is he's always a low line drive style thrower to begin with.
Yes.
And that always helps in the wind. The less you can keep it out of the air, the better off you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be huge for him.
I
So,
agree.
so
Also,
because
I was gonna add to that.
go
Um,
ahead.
also, I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. And quote me on this. Calvin never leaves lead card entire tournament because the four previous winners start off on lead card at LVC. So my prediction
Okay.
is that he never comes off of lead card.
Yeah. All right. I could feel it.
Yeah.
Um, I could dig that. Um, yeah. And I mean, more to my point as well, out in Las Vegas, he doesn't have to worry about Macbeth this year. I don't think Ricky's going to be ready. I don't think he's going to bomb, but I think
Yeah.
he's going to take some random OBs and some silly stuff that's just going to keep him out of fighting contention out on the last day.
Hmm.
Um, so I fully expect him to still place top 10. I don't think he's going to be in contention this tournament, but he's going to be out with a raging vengeance by Waco.
Right.
You can quote me on that.
Yep. Quoted.
um,
Noted and quoted.
on FPO, I said we wasn't going to do anything dark horse, but I really think that Jennifer Allen's going to come out and slay this. Arizona is very similar to Vegas in
Hmm.
how it plays. And we know that she's obviously spent most of her off season in Arizona, which means she's probably spent a fair amount of her off season up in Vegas too, because it's only a few hours for her to get up there.
Right.
Um, and I think she's going to be so over prepared that either she completely bombs because she's too far in her own head, or she just goes out and slays. We've seen her go out and make some moves. I think I heard that she's not working as much this year as well,
Yeah,
so
she's
that she's
touring
she's
more.
gonna be she's gonna be not a complete tour, but she's gonna be at a lot more events this year. And now that she's not working as much, means she's putting in that much more time into her disc golf game. And we saw that in the last two tournaments where she went out and won, the last two tournaments by over 10 strokes.
Right.
So that's all I need to really say about that is either everybody played really, really bad at those tournaments, or she has stepped her game up this year.
Yeah.
And I'm leaning towards stepped her game up,
I
and I'm
agree.
excited to see where it's going to take her.
Yep. I think that's a good pick. I really do.
All right, so let's move on here then to dark horse podium finishes. One pick, both sides. You don't have to pick them to win, but who's like the least likely person you would think of to make it onto a podium at Vegas that's going to make it?
Thomas Gilbert for me.
Okay, what about FBO?
Um, FPO. I'm gonna go. Um. mm, it's hard because it's so. I'm gonna say Rebecca Cox. I
That's an interesting
really,
pick because
really
Vegas
liked
does
how
not
she
match your
played.
play style.
Yes, exactly. And I think that would be a dark horse. I think she could definitely do it though, as long as
Right.
she plays consistent.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. So for me, my dark horse pick on placing on the podium at LVC for MPO is Brody Smith.
Dang it! That would play in
I
perfect for my predictions.
I just
I need it.
I don't know why, but I mean, golf course style courses are going to play into his strengths, especially since he's been saying that he's getting a lot of his former power back now that he's really
Yeah.
dialed in his form. So that means that I really expect him to be in those top 10 areas pretty consistently on all of the golf course style courses we see this year. So that's my dark horse on the MPO side.
The dark horse.
The dark horse is my dark horse pick.
Very clever.
um,
Oh, quick shout out. Speaking of dark horse, Jesse in chat got an ace yesterday with
Ooh,
a dark horse zone, a get freaky zone.
that get freaky.
Yep.
Congrats, my guy. Way to hit
You just
that.
had to, yeah, you had to bring up Brody, and I was like, it's perfect. I had to.
It's
So shout out,
it's
Jesse. Shout out.
perfect. Um, in this one, this one might not be like a super dark horse pick for a podium finish, but I feel like it is just based on her performance the last few years. But I think Holly Finley is going to look really good at LBC this year. She doesn't have, max power compared to some of the ladies on the tour, but she definitely has good power. And her circle two
I
putting
was
at
just
the
about to bring
putting
that up. Her circle two putting looks
looked
magnificent.
so good. You can tell just how hard she worked on it. And
Yes.
I mean, the first couple of putts you could tell like, oh, she's jet lagging hard. She's struggling just to be out there, but those circle two putts, she looked great.
Yeah.
And
I think she'll do well.
FPO FPO players are going to have a ton of circle two putts at LVC just because of
Mm-hmm.
the way that it plays. And her power level. A circle two putter could even go out there and win the whole tournament just based on their circle two stats.
Yeah.
So that's my dark horse.
I like it. You got good picks. I'm a
Uh,
little
uh,
jealous.
They're they're out there, but that's the beauty of that is that we get to do this dark horse pick all season long, baby. If you guys have any dark horse picks that you think are going to be hitting that podium finish for this tournament, tweet at us, comment on something on Instagram, comment on this, or even just DM us. We want to hear your dark horse picks.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
Next, we're going to move on to some betting lines.
Yeah.
See what we can do there, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to give a quick shout out to Hitting the Lines podcast for bringing this question up to us. I was already planning on doing something along these lines, but they actually tweeted at us directly when I asked what we should talk about for LVC. Um, so shout out to Hitting the Lines podcast. If you guys
Shout
want to know
out.
more about actual like betting lines and maybe what are going to be the good picks, probably listen to them. We're going to talk about some betting lines. We're going to pick a few over unders, but that's not our specialty. So I don't want you guys going out there and being like, "You guys
Yep.
picked
They
this.
said it.
I picked it because you said it." And then being mad at us for your picks. Don't listen to us. It's not our specialty. If you want to know more about betting lines in terms of disc golf, because they've been doing it a lot longer than us, especially with prize picks specifically, go listen to their podcast. All right. Um, so let's start off with we'll go through. I don't think they have any betting lines for FPO. It's all purely MPO. But they've got it looks like 8, 12, 14 players listed here.
Yep.
We're just going to go rapid fire. This
Okay.
is all
Hit me.
round one only. Okay. So just take your over under, and then I'll take mine. We'll move on.
Okay.
Ricky Wysocki, 48 strokes round one.
Uh, what is the par on the course?
57.
57. Okay. And 48. So that's 9 under, right?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Under that.
Okay. I'm taking over. I think first round with a new disc is going to be a rough one.
Okay.
Calvin Heimberg also sits at 48.
Under.
Eagle McMahon, I'm taking under as well. Eagle McMahon, 48.
Under.
I'm going to take over as well because, again, I'm predicting that elbow or shoulder injury, whatever's going on, worse than he's actually leading on. Kevin Jones, 50.5 round one.
Over.
I'm taking the under. Garrett Gerthy, 50.5.
Over.
Over. Drew Gibson, 50.5.
Under.
I'm going to go over. Brody Smith, 51.5.
Under.
I'm going to take under as well. James Conrad, 50.
Over.
I'm going to take over as well. Chris Dickerson, 50.
Over.
I'm going to go under. Ezra Aderhold, 50.
Over. I know that one's gonna
I'm
be a
gonna,
surprise, but
I'm gonna take under on that one as well. He was actually my backup dark horse podium finish.
Right. I just don't think it would
So
be a
I think
dark
he's going to
horse.
look great.
I think he'll look good.
That's why I went for Brody is because I was
Yeah.
like, Ezra put on such a show out there at
Yeah,
All
right.
Stars. It doesn't feel like an actual dark horse to podium. It might be a dark horse for to pick him as an actual 100% he's going to win,
Right.
but as a podium, maybe not so much. Nico Lacastro 51.5.
Under.
Okay. I'm gonna go under as well. He looked
He
fantastic with that
did.
bag. Um, Looked great. Probably the best performance at All Stars that we saw out of somebody with a new bag.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in my opinion. Nate Sexton 50.5.
Over.
I'm gonna go over as well. I think course just sets up too well
I mean,
for
he did win it. You know, we can't forget
yeah,
that. He did win it the year before last, so 2020.
yeah. I just think that I don't know, backhand set up so much better on this course in my opinion. But I don't know. I mean, the course is different in some way, shape, or form than it has been in the past. Maybe
Right.
Kyle. So I went over Kyle Klein 50 even.
This one's a hard one. This one's like the James Conrad one. Um, for the first round, I'm gonna go over.
Okay, I'm gonna take over as well. Um, Adam Hammis 50 even.
Over.
I'm gonna go under.
Do it, dog.
I'm gonna go under on that one. Um, yeah, that's the lines. That's everything that's posted on Prize Picks. Unfortunately, for all of our listeners in Tennessee, Prize Picks is not available yet to the state of Tennessee. After everything that's happened in Tennessee this year with betting, hopefully next year or maybe even late this year. I sure hope so.
Yes.
But
I didn't know it wasn't available.
yeah, technically. But
I've used Prize Picks.
yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe, but I didn't use money. I did the free, so maybe it's just the betting part. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's the terms of actual money betting is what's not.
But you
But
can do it on FanDuel. That's weird. I don't know.
it's just they probably haven't gone through the approval process with the state yet.
Yeah,
Is all it is.
yeah.
That's all that really is.
Hopefully they
And
get that soon.
FanDuel is a massive site. You know that
Yeah,
they were in every government looking for approval
yeah. Still are.
immediately.
Yeah,
So, um, but yeah, hopefully Prize Picks comes to Tennessee really soon. We're still going to use their lines throughout the season when we continue to do this segment
yeah,
because it's the easiest available. And we'll see. It's the first event of the season. Their lines might be a little bit off right now, but I'm sure that they'll tighten up their lines a little bit better down the stretch as well.
yeah.
I just don't know. But again, if you guys want to hear more about that, Hitting the Lines podcast.
For sure.
All right, moving on. Um, we had Disc Golf Hunter on Twitter also gave us another question when we asked about LVC related topics. Their question was, are golf courses good for the Pro Tour? Golf course style courses. Um, I'm going to let you start on this one.
Okay. So in my mind, yes, I think they are a necessity. I know a lot of people will disagree with me. Um, I think that we just get tired of seeing golf courses because of the Western swing, and we had touched on this a little bit last week too, I believe.
Yep,
But mainly, golf courses are still a skill. You know what I mean?
right.
It's not shaping lines like it is in the woods, but you have to know your distance. You have to know your discs. You have to avoid the OB lines, and you're going to be fighting with wind, and it still takes skills in order to play on a golf course. Faster
Absolutely.
greens, there bunkers. There's a lot to deal with, and I could see where if people are seeing the same shot over and over and over. If it's just a modified spike hyzer over and over, yes, that's not what we want to see. I agree. But these golf courses can be utilized a little bit better than what they are right now. I 100% agree with this. Um, use some trees. You know, there's trees on golf courses. If you need to
Right.
shape shots around them, you can. You know, the wide open spike hyzers have a couple of them here and there, but you don't have to do the whole course like that.
Right.
Make the OBs different, make the greens different. You know, do what you can with what you have, and make a great tournament. But yeah, my short answer would be yes. I do think that they do make good pro tour stops. I just think that they should be mixed in with wooded courses a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that we talked about, a couple episodes ago as well. Is that the swing this year with the Pro Tour taking over kind of gave us a little bit more variety early on, as opposed to going basically LVC direct to Stockton, direct to Portland, and just straight golf course to golf course to golf course. Um, I completely agree with all those assessments. It does get old and rigid after a while looking at, oh, it's another spike geyser.
Yep.
For some of our fans, you might even think of it a little bit like NASCAR.
Yeah.
Oh, look, another left
Left
turn,
turn.
right? That's
Woohoo!
kind of what it feels like. But one of the really nice things about golf courses as well is the ability to change the course at a whim.
Yeah.
Um, the most of the golf courses that run these events generally do a pretty good job of coming up with uh, new lines year in and year out when they're visited multiple times. And there's a lot of room to play with because when you go out on those, permanent courses that we see more on the Eastern Swing,
Hmm.
there's a lot less change year in and year out than what we see out of these courses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so like you go to Maple Hill, for example, yeah, there's been changes at Maple Hill. Don't get me wrong, but it's like one hole a year got moved back 70 feet, and
Right.
that's the change. These golf courses get renovated in terms of the actual disc golf course they put in place for these tournaments. They get renovated and overhauled every year.
Yeah.
Sometimes you even go out there and it's a completely and utterly different course than what we saw in previous years. LVC is not going to be one of them, but LVC already kind of has a little bit of a better like feel in terms of
Yeah.
putting the tees in harder to hit gaps immediately. Even if you get past a gap and it's really open, they do a better job of kind of using the trees and what's on the course than you know some of the other
Right.
bigger courses. Um, and you know, players kind of hate OB, like non-natural OB, but at the same time, it's still a very important skill to have, and that's where we're going to see most of these, OB penalty lines is going to be on these disc golf or these golf courses.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have
Um,
score separation. So,
yeah, yeah, so it's got to be there somewhere. And then one of the things that I really like on golf courses that you don't get on most of your permanent style courses as well, whether they are wooded or not, is hazard play. Because hazard play is such an interesting design. A lot of times, OB can be heavily manipulated to work in your favor depending on how you're doing it. Hazard is super straight up. You take your penalty and you still play from where you landed.
yep.
That's it. You don't have a choice. It's not, you can't back up 20 feet to get a better line based on the newer rules or adjust your line on the new rules for the OB meter rule,
Right.
right? Hazard, you play it as it lies, and that is a really cool format
I
in
like it.
terms of
Yeah.
how it plays. And I really like that because we only see that on a couple other courses throughout the year once we get off of the golf courses
Hmm.
is hazard play. Like Winthrop, we see it on Winthrop, and I can't think of another course that really uses hazard play.
Yeah. I don't know either.
So I think that's a really cool aspect that you really only see out on golf courses is hazard play as opposed to straight up OB. Yeah, it doesn't give us a lot of variety, but I think the Pro Tour's swing this year is a little bit more friendly to not seeing just golf course after golf course after golf course immediately. So that'll help. That'll help
Right.
a lot. It doesn't feel quite so monotonous, just three golf courses in a row, and then all of a sudden we're in the woods or something like that. You know.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely mixed up a little better this year, and I'm very excited about how the Pro Tour has scheduled this season.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's our take on golf courses. If you guys have anything to add, let us know. I'm gonna probably clip this entire section, maybe shrink it a little bit, and then post it in a couple places. So if you guys are listening to this, post your thoughts below.
Yeah, let us know.
All right.
Last
Do
thing.
you have any more topics or anything else to consider before?
Well, actually, I, yeah, so just quick shout out to Matteo. Hope everything goes well. Um,
Yeah.
he had to drop out of LVC. Um, he had severe stomach pains the other night and ended up going to the hospital, and he did have appendicitis. So I haven't seen anything else about it yet. Hopefully everything went well, but
No.
yeah, uh, thoughts and prayers go out to Matty O.
Yeah. Hope you get better quick. We don't want to miss you out at Waco. That's
Yep,
for sure.
for sure.
Um. All right. So this weekend, this Saturday specifically, the two of us here at Tennessee Twos Disc Golf are going to be representing Tennessee Twos
Yep,
at the Tennessee State Doubles Match Championship. Um,
right.
Pretty excited about
I'm
it.
stoked.
Yeah, I mean, we went out there this last Saturday and played both courses. Um, Beautiful courses. 3 holes on the first course that were like
What are you trying to do here?
these are afterthoughts,
Yeah,
obviously,
right.
but everything else on both of the courses that we're going to be playing looked beautiful. Um, I know that they're working on getting some funding and some stuff
hmm
for continued renovations. Yeah, so my only complaints about the course are really the tee pads, and
Yeah,
that's just
and lack thereof.
it is yeah it is what it is. They're all natural tee pads. Um, I I'm only really worried about it just because we're getting rain all week,
Yeah, it's raining right now.
all all week. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, um, those natural tee pads are going to be rough. I'm probably going to have to bring a change of shoes out
yeah.
there.
Change your socks
Um,
and shoes. But yeah,
might
definitely.
even might even bring 3 pairs of socks just
Yeah,
in
that
case.
might not be a bad idea. But
So,
yeah, no,
yeah.
but it is
What are
exciting.
you
What is it?
what are your expectations?
Um, I just want us to go out there, have a good time. I don't really want to put a place over our heads or anything like that. We just want to
Oh
get
yeah,
out there, meet the community, do as much as we can, and hopefully whoop some butt. But
yeah, absolutely.
that's always the goal going out there. But I uh, I really felt good playing that first course, the Red Apple course.
Right.
Super fun, super short. A lot of technical little lines. Great for mid ranges and fairway driver play. Uh, that's kind of my forte, and I
Yep.
really liked it. The White Lightning course, which is the bigger course, did you say it was 1,800 feet longer or 1,300 feet?
One of the two. I
One of
think
the two.
we'll call it 15 feet.
It's
It's
only
1500.
it's
Happy
it's
medium.
it's 3 pars, 2 pars.
Two
So
pars.
Red Apple is par 54 and White Lightning is par 56, but yet it has 1,300 added feet to the
Yeah.
course.
So
And
I mean, we've got three, one, two, three, 4, 5, 6 holes that are out in the wide open.
out wide open.
So 90% of our extra footage is going to come from them because none of the wide open holes are actually the par fours. The par fours, both of them are
Are
back to
in the
back in the
hole.
woods.
Yep. Which are great
Um,
holes, by the way. I really like both
yeah,
of them.
yeah, that's I'm I'm super excited for that. But yeah, the biggest distance discrepancies are going to be out on those wide open
Yeah.
holes. Couple of them, or one of them's 425 par
Yeah.
three. So
Yeah. I
um,
do like that White Lightning course. I know I didn't score that well on it. We didn't keep score,
yeah,
but
we were
just
playing by
in our
feel. We were just
head,
trying to
right?
figure out our shots.
Right. Um,
Um,
I do. There is some of those shots there though that I have never seen before. You know, like the downhill, super elevated, tight lined. You know, right to left, like
right.
and creek behind. It's such a difficult shot, but it's so fun to watch a disc do
Oh
it.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, there's a couple of really beautiful holes
yeah,
and
well put together
tremendous
and
greens.
designed. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm
yeah,
excited.
yeah,
I'm honestly wanting to just go play it again. To be honest, like that hole has been in my head. Like I just can't wait to go back to that hole.
yeah. I mean, there's one hole in particular that's what 280 feet,
Yeah.
but it plays direct downhill. It's like 30 feet, 30 40 feet of elevation drop.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a flip up hyzer putter for me. And there's just not that many holes like that around here.
Yeah.
A flip up hyzer putter 40-foot downhill. Um,
Yep. And it's got to be low and slow.
yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
throw an Annie understable mid range at about 20%. Just flick and let the disc do the work all the way down the hill.
yeah. And for me, mine's a little bit different. I'm throwing a pig, and I'm
Yeah.
throwing it not as hard as I can, but I'm throwing it hard enough that it flips from hard hyzer to a soft hyzer, and then holds the soft hyzer all the way down because it's a extended left hand bend,
Yep.
but it straightens out at the end. So I need it to flip up and ride. And to get that hard left hand hook at the beginning of the throw and then get it to flip up and glide all the way down without a good forehand, such a hard high skill shot, but it's so fun to throw when
It
you get it right.
is. And especially when you see it. You know what I mean?
Mm,
We seen a couple. We did actually play that hole very well for the most part, and
yeah.
we was. I think that's
Yeah,
probably why we liked it so much.
well, because the thing about it too is, so I didn't settle on that shot until it was literally the last disc that I threw because I was like, I don't know if I have the technical skill for this flip up hyzer. Like it is a 1,000 rated player level shot. So I was like, I'm just gonna gut it because there is a gut line
Yeah.
where you can throw something right down the middle and let it just glide straight down, but it is so tiny that I tried to gut it like two or three different times and just nothing good came out of it. I think I got one down in circle
Yeah.
two, but it was not a good look in circle two. And so finally he was like, dude, why don't you just throw this? And I'm like, I don't know if I can. And I hit it almost perfect on the first try with the only disc in my bag that would even
It
do
still
it.
got in circle one. It was like a
Yeah,
26-foot putt. Ow.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I mean, for my expectations, my number one expectation out of that is to go out and grow the brand.
Yeah.
We did this tournament to be a part of Tennessee Twos out in the local scene more than anything else. We are going out into a pool of 54 teams total just in our division. I have no expectations to win this tournament because it's all tightly wooded, it's doubles, and there's going to be some team, and I'm not even going to say that they're bagging. It's just there's going to be one team at least that comes out of this tournament having hit every luck line possible
Yeah.
because that's how a lot of these tournaments work, especially in doubles. You know, it's
Right.
you just need to go out there and. But for us, I mean, my goal is I think we can get to 10 down collectively for the tournament
I would
for
be
both
very
rounds.
happy with that. Very happy with
Um,
it. If we can hold it
and
on
I
the White Lightning course, I think we can.
Yeah, because I think we could collectively, skill wise, we could hit 15 or 18 down on with both of the courses combined. However, um, there's gonna be a couple holes on each course where we both just hit first available. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
that's how it
just gonna
goes.
happen, right?
So
We're not pro.
you put a couple of those in there, you're gonna take one or two bogeys probably per course, and hopefully that's it because it's doubles and we can hopefully make up for each other's failures. But
Right.
you know that those are going to happen eventually. So if we scored 10 down, I would be ecstatic,
Me too.
honestly. But yeah,
Me too.
I'm just excited to go out there and grow the brand and play as Tennessee Twos.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That's what I'm excited about. So
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that about wraps it up. What do you think?
I think it does.
You got any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. Number one, super excited to have live disc golf back. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Look, we all know LVC isn't the most exciting tournament we watch throughout the entire year, but it's live disc golf and it's a full field. And we get to watch the best players in the world go out there and just be competitive. That's fun.
It is fun.
So, as of right now, 1 hour or 1 day, 15 hours, 41 minutes to FPO going live. That's it.
Yeah.
1.5 days. We are this close.
I'm
This close
excited.
to the season starting, guys.
I'm excited.
That's it.
I'm excited.
Uh, Other thoughts? Um, Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. We do a ton of interacting there.
Hmm.
We'd love to talk to you guys.
Yeah,
Um,
we try to message back everybody that we possibly can, and we definitely enjoy talking. You know, that's why we do
Absolutely.
this. So
Yeah. Uh, and then we said we were gonna do it, and we did it. We are 100% caught up on all of our audio post production podcasts up on our
Spotify,
networks
yep,
at Spotify,
Spotify,
Apple,
Apple,
and Google. And you can listen direct on our RS server, but we don't have that posted anywhere. So if you find us, good for you.
right? Yep, but it will
um,
be live on. It will be video form on Facebook and YouTube as well. And hopefully we can start getting into some of the YouTube shorts and maybe some TikToks eventually. I don't know. Hadn't
yeah,
thought about that one, but I. It depends on if I want to take that on or not. But I probably will. So
yeah.
we shall see.
TikTok's a hard one. I
It
mean,
is.
there's none of the other like platforms handle the way that TikTok does because TikTok is the one that it doesn't matter how big of a following you get.
Yep.
If you don't post every day, you lose all of your rank in their algorithm immediately.
Yeah. That's the
It's
reason that I'm
crazy.
keeping all of my reels from Instagram. Just rock them back. But yeah.
Yes.
But
So,
yeah, no, yeah, I think that's
yeah.
it for us. How do you rate this podcast? 1 out of 10. What do you give us?
You talking to me?
Well, yeah, they can't go to
What one?
10, so
What? I was gonna
they
say
can only
one
go
out
to
of ten.
five.
What am I supposed to do?
I'm giving
Listen,
us a little better odds, okay?
if you guys are here listening to this podcast right now, I just have one thing to say. Don't go back and listen to episodes 1 through 4. Okay.
Start at
Look,
five.
we didn't know what we were doing.
Do we?
Look, it took us some time to hit our stride, and
Yeah,
I gotta say, we're not perfect, but we have hit a stride.
yeah,
Um, and we're starting to feel good about a lot of the content that we're putting out. Um, but yeah, go to episode 5. It's the robot chicken has landed.
oh
Start
yeah,
there if you want to watch or listen backwards or watch backwards, depending on where you're at. Start there, work your way up, follow the rest of the season with us. We would greatly appreciate it.
absolutely. And guys, that's gonna do it for us. We do appreciate it. Just go ahead, see all of our socials. Um, y'all, I hope y'all are as excited about this disc golf season as we are because content is on its way in.
We have some new games next week. Woo-hoo!
I know we got some segments coming in, but disc golf's on its way in and we're on our way out. So we will see you guys later. Y'all have a great rest of your night and a good day tomorrow. Peace, guys.